Hey, what's up? It's Autumn, and this is just a thought. Hey, what's up? Hope you guys are having an amazing week. Welcome back. I'm excited today, and I don't even know why. I think it's just in the air. I've had a really, really good week. Things have been filling my cup in ways that I didn't even know that I needed or that they could. I've done a lot of guest speaking, keynote speaking, sat on a panel today. And actually, this is what one of the things that came up during that panel is what today's video is going to be about. But I think just feeling, purposeful makes you feel good. And I have been feeling very purposeful this week. So I hope that you are experiencing the same thing, that you too are also having that feeling, because I don't think that there's anything really better than that, right? So anyway, today, what I really want to talk about is forgiveness. Okay. This is a hard one, and harder than I've really. This is going to be like, this is a moment of honesty, right? Harder than I think I have given credit to. People really, really, really battle with forgiveness. That has not really been my cross to bear. Not because I have not been wronged, because that certainly ain't the case. I've had a lot of wild things happen to me, but I really truly believe that I have a gift of forgiveness. And so I wanted to share some of my perspectives in order to help others who may be struggling with forgiveness. I wanted to give some steps or some things to consider, some thought processes. And these are the thought processes that come to me, which help me get through forgiving, which help me to get to the other side of things. And so hopefully some of all of what we're about to talk about will be helpful to you. And so we'll go from there. So the first thing to note or to consider is that people are going to hurt you. That's life. Like, that is life. There is not a single relationship that you are going to be in ever, not one, where hurt, offense, miscommunication, those kind of things, that's not going to happen. There's not one. I don't care if it's your coworker, if it's your children, if it's a family member, if it's an intimate relationship, if it's a neighbor. There's not a single relationship that you are going to enter into in your life that there is not going to be some level of frustration, irritation, hurt, offense that occurs, because we are human. And as humans, we are not perfect. And so deciding that you are going to be a person that forgives before an offense ever happens. See, we don't take proactive approaches about a lot of things. We really don't. We tend to be very reactive. It's like something happened, I'm in the middle of it, I'm drowning, and now I want to learn how to swim. Bro, you should have learned how to swim before you actually needed to swim. Don't get in the middle of the pool and now you about to drown and die and be talking about, I should have now I want to take my swim lessons. No. So we need to proactively decide, I am going to be a person who forgives. Before anyone ever causes offense, I say, I recognize that you're going to. At some point, if you and I walk together long enough, you're going to do something that's going to make me mad. You're going to do something that's going to hurt my feelings. You're going to do something that I'm going to say is dirty. And when that occurs, because it's not if, it's when that occurs, I have already decided I'm going to forgive you. So why is this important? Number one, because you can start to wrap your mind around the idea of forgiving, wrap your mind around the idea that I know that this is coming. This is not going to catch me off guard. It's just a matter of when it happens. But I'm not going to be surprised that I need to forgive this person at some point. So I'm already sort of preparing myself for it. The other thing that I think that it does is that it frames your perspectives. When you are already knowing this is the price of doing business. This is the price of relationships. With relationships comes a whole lot of good, and there comes some bad, and I put that in quotes. There comes some bad, but that bad is worth all of the good that I get. So I am going to frame the bad with the perspective of sometimes stuff happens. And when it does, I'm going to be prepared, and I'm just going to, I'm going to go with it. So that's the first thing, is deciding. It also gives ownership. You recognize that forgiveness belongs to you, that it is a decision that you have to make. It is not something that's just going to randomly wash over you. One day you're going to wake up and just be like, I forgive everybody. Like, no, you have to decide, this is what I'm going to commit to doing. This is the process I'm committed to taking. So you recognize that you have the power over this. This is not something that's just sort of happening to you or will happen to you. Like, you have to get involved and engaged in this. Take accountability and take responsibility for this process. Okay. So you're prepping in advance, you're framing it, and you are taking ownership of the forgiving process. You recognize that it belongs to you. It's a decision that you need to make. Okay. What also happens when you do that is that you remove the responsibility of the other person in your forgiveness journey. What do I mean by that? It means that we want to say stuff like, I'll forgive them when they say they sorry. I'll forgive them when they start acting like they sorry. I'll forgive them when they, show up as a different person, or they fix it, they make it right. Okay. If you're waiting on all that, in some cases, you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life. That cannot be the thing that holds you hostage. Okay. But when you decide up front that I'm going to forgive, you're making that decision, and because you don't know who you're extending that to. You don't know what the circumstances are. You don't know how they're going to respond. You're not putting caveats on it. I will forgive when or if. You just said, period, point blank, I'm forgiving, period, regardless of what they do. If they never apologize, I'm still going to forgive. If they continue to wild out and act like a fool, I'm still going to forgive. What we are confusing is forgiveness and reconciliation. What we are confusing is forgiveness and co-signing. Those things do not automatically go hand in hand. I can forgive you and not be in agreement at all whatsoever with anything that you have done. Oh, right? Very possible for me to be like, you wild, but I forgive you though. That's possible. It's also possible to forgive and say, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. I wish you well. I wish you the very best. It's one thing to forgive them, and it's another thing to welcome them back. So for those who are looking for reconciliation, then yes, you do want apologies. Yes, you do need changed behavior. Yes, you do need accountability. That part plays into reconciliation. It does not play into forgiveness. You can forgive without any of that. You cannot reconcile without those pieces. That we can agree on. So let's frame it accurately. Okay. The next thing that is necessary is a recognizing of your own humanity. Now, this is where we struggle. A friend of mine said yesterday was so good, and I'm like, man, this is so perfect. that where we find ourselves in the most trouble is when we start taking a stance of moral superiority over other people. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so good. When we find ourselves in a position where we are taking moral superiority over other people, that's when all hell breaks loose. This is when we find ourselves showing up and being the very things that we are condemning, that we feel are despicable and ugly and disgusting in other people. We start being able to justify it in ourselves. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this. When someone has done something that has betrayed you, they've lied to you, they've disrespected you, they have, all of these things, you are justified in your feelings of hurt, justified in indignation and all these other things, right? Disbelief, justified. But when we start taking the stance where we are sort of judge and jury, where we're standing here and being like, how dare you? I would never do something like that to you. You're a horrible human being. This person they are the worst. They're this, they're that, right? We start going on and on and on and diminishing this person's character, their value, just who they are as a human. Then we've taken a moral superiority stance against them to say, I am better than you. You are here and I'm here. And so I'm looking down my nose at you and being like, how could you? And so when I put myself in a position to be able to look down at you, what I'm doing is I'm justifying not only my unforgiveness, but all of the things that my unforgiveness leads me into. The fact that I'm unforgiving, now I get to talk to you crazy. I get to call you names. I get to be passive aggressive. I get to be, snippy and ugly and remind you about your flaws. And I get to be justified in that because you did this thing that I would never do to you. So I'm morally superior to you. So it's okay. It's okay for me to talk to you like that. You deserve it. Do you see the slippery slope that we start getting into? We start being able to justify it. Now I'm bitter and resentful against you. I'm not showing up for you. So, maybe we're in a relationship together and you betrayed me. And so now I'm like, I don't have to come home. I don't got to tell him where I am. I don't have to answer his text messages. I don't have to be respectful to him. I don't have to consider his feelings. I ain't got to tell him how I'm spending this money. And I'm doing all these ugly things, but I'm justifying it. And I'm justifying it through this by unforgiving, by not forgiving you. I get to act like I'm better than you are. And that's why I can do these things to you because you deserve them. You're lower than me. You're less than. Not where we want to be. This is just ugly on top of ugly. It goes nowhere and it fixes nothing. It makes things worse and it creates bitterness and resentment and just walls and ugliness that festers inside of you and between you and the world. Not even just you and that person, but all people. The next person, the next friend, the next guy, the next girl, the next job, all the things. No, not okay. What we really need to do is we need to put ourselves on the exact same level as that person who has wronged us. The exact same level. And say, they are human, just like I am a human. And so we both, me and this other person, have the ability to do every single thing that humans have the ability to do. Just like they lied, lie. We just may be lying about different things and to different people in different circumstances. But it's in both of us. Just like they cheated, there's things that I've cheated, I've cut corners on. So that is in both of us. It's just that they cheated in one area and I cheated in another. But that ability to cheat, to skirt the rules, to do something that I'm not supposed to, we both have that ability. And so when I can be honest with myself about what I'm capable of, given the right circumstances at the right time in the right place with the right people and all the things, when I can be honest with myself about what I'm capable of and see my humanity and recognize that, yeah, I've done things that I'm not proud of, but that doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me, this horrible human being that's not worth the time of day. And if I can recognize that about myself, then I can certainly recognize that about you. So it helps me to be able to look at you and say, we're not different. It's just the circumstances are different. If I stand here in my life right now today, and I look at somebody who went to jail for theft or robbery and be like, oh my God, I would never. But that's not necessarily true. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I got 3 kids. And if I lost my job and my kids were hungry and I had no way of feeding them, the idea of robbing or stealing would absolutely cross my mind in order to feed my children. Now, I couldn't imagine going in the store right now and stealing. I mean, it doesn't dawn on me now. Of course not. Because the circumstances aren't right for it. But if the circumstances changed, my behavior, what I would do might change. Which is all the more reason why we need to be grounded in a moral compass. But I digress. It's a whole different thing. Anywho, so I say that to say, when you can be honest with yourself about that, then you can extend grace. When you recognize your own flaws and your own shortcomings and your own humanity, and you can give yourself grace for that, when you recognize that you have done things that you have needed forgiveness for, when you recognize that you have hurt people, that you have done things that you wish that you could take back, that, you just acted that way because you were hurt and you didn't know any better, all the nuance of the circumstances and all the justifications and or excuses that you can come up with to give yourself mercy and grace is the same way that you can do this for other people. To say they too are having an experience. They too have a lens that they're looking through. They too have gone through things that have shaped and formed them. They too only know what they know. Y'all not different. And so when we can look at people through that lens, then we can be forgiving towards them. Right? The next thing that I think is necessary with forgiveness is the realization that not forgiving is not going to bring you what you want. So what we think we want is for a person to be sorry, for a person to apologize, for a person to be accountable. And I'm not saying that that's not what we want. We do. But that's not the core, the root of what we want. The core and the root of what we want is we want that person to undo what they have done. We want it to never have existed. We want the person to unbreak our heart. Thank you, Tony Braxton. We want them to give us back all the tears that we cried. We want them to give us all the sleep that we missed out on because we was laying up at night thinking about them, crying about them. We want them to take away all the anxiety that we have felt, right? All of the fear and the anxiousness and the embarrassment and, whatever else has come from whatever it was that they did. That's what we want. We want to never have experienced any of these terrible things. And that person, no matter how sorry they are, they cannot do that. They can't undo it. They don't have the ability to do it. And so there's not enough apologies in the world that they can offer that is going to give you what you really at your core want. So when you can accept that, when you can get to a place that says, you don't even have the ability. The thing that I really want, you don't even have the ability to give me. So I'm not going to ask it of you. I'm not going to demand it of you, because this is where we get into a place where it's never enough, where we're like, if you would just say you're sorry, and they say they're sorry, and then you raise the bar because you got the apology and you realize I still feel bad. Then you're like, well, you got to show me that you feel a certain type of way. And that person is like jumping through hoops and doing all the things. And you're like, still not enough. And then you're like, I need you to go to therapy with me, or I need you to go to therapy on your own. And they're doing that. And they're showing up with all the tools and the skills that they have learned, and it's still not enough. And then you're like, I need you to, show me your phone, or I need you to tell me everything that's going on, or I need you, and they're doing all that, and it's still never enough. It's like, at some point, it's like, bro, when is this going to end? And the reason why you are struggling to let it go, the reason why you are struggling to let it in, is because you're looking for a feeling. And you're tying it to behave, like if they just did this, if they just did this, if they just did this. And it's not going to happen. Because what you really want is for all of this to never have existed. Too late for that. The horse is out the barn. It's too late for that. You can't. So you just gotta, that's the part about being like, I just gotta let it go. I have to release it. I have to let it go. Because the thing that I really want is literally impossible for them to give me. It's not that they don't want to. It's not that if they could just get better. It's not if they just tried hard enough. It's literally impossible for them to do it. So if you are basing your forgiveness on something that is impossible, well, you've put yourself in your own gilded cage. They didn't do that. You did. You put yourself in your own gilded cage. You have made the requirements literally God, something that only God could do. And even he's not doing that. He will fix moving ahead. He will turn something that was ugly into something that is beautiful. But even he is not undoing what has been done. We got to get a different perspective about it. So the next piece of forgiveness is understanding that forgiveness is a process, and that there may be a requirement. In fact, I say maybe more times than not. There's going to be a requirement that you forgive more than one time for the same offense. So what do I mean? Let's say somebody cheated on you. So when you find out that they cheated on you, that's the first initial like, whew, okay. And there is a need to forgive just that act, right? They did something that they violated boundaries. They violated the relationship. And forgiving just the cheating is one piece of forgiveness. Now, though, that act that they did has ripple effects, right? Because them cheating wasn't just about the act of them physically being with another person. It was about breaking trust. So now, I feel anxious whenever you tell me something. You tell me that you're going to go do something, or that you're going to be home at a certain time, and, but then you don't answer the phone when I call you, or you're like 30 minutes late getting home. And now I have this level of anxiety. Where is he? What is he doing? Is he with her again? Right. And so now you are causing me to have an experience that I would not have had if you had not cheated. I wouldn't be sitting over here anxiously looking at my phone and the watch and the time and like, oh my God, what is he doing? What's going on? So this is a ripple effect of that. So now I have to forgive you again for creating this moment in me. So not only did I forgive you for the original cheating, now I got to forgive you for 2 weeks later me having this anxious moment because of your cheating. Okay. Then I find out that your friends knew or other people knew that this was going on behind my back. So now I'm embarrassed. Now I feel humiliated, right? And so now I have to go out in public and be around these people who knew what was happening. And I feel like I'm looking stupid, like I'm looking like a fool. And the only reason that, so now I'm uncomfortable. I'm at this event. I'm uncomfortable. I'm feeling like people are whispering about me or talking about me. They may or may not be, right? But it's just how I feel. Now I got to forgive you again for this level of humiliation, for this level of embarrassment that I'm experiencing. I didn't bring this on myself. You brought this on me. So now I got to forgive you for the cheating. I got to forgive you for my anxiety and the emotional roller coaster you had me on when you was a couple minutes late. And now I'm in this place of just, I can't, sit still. And now I got to forgive you again for this embarrassment and this humiliation. Do you see how the forgiving process may happen over and over and over again? You have created chaos in our home, right? Maybe we're not going to be able to reconcile. And maybe we're going to have to get divorced. And so now we got to talk about finances, and we might have to sell a house, and we might have to tell the kids and our families and all this ripping, right? All this tearing that is happening. Now I got to forgive you for that too. I got to forgive you for the loss of a dream. I thought this was going to be my house forever, but now we got to sell it. And I got to forgive you for that. Our finances are taking a hit. I thought that, listen, I was used to a certain lifestyle. We had certain levels of resources, and now that's being divided. And now I got to forgive you for that. These kids are devastated and they crying and they look at a certain way, and I got to hug them and be strong and all this other kind of stuff for them. You done made me a single mom, and now I got to forgive you for that. So that one act, and we look at it and we go, man, how do I forgive? You got to forgive over and over and over and over and over again. And so being committed to the process means just that. Understanding and knowing that it's a process and that it may require an infinite number of forgiving moments. Now, I know exactly what you're saying because I can hear you. In my spirit, I can hear you. Like, well, then forget it. Then I ain't doing all that for what? They the one messed up. What do I need to forgive for? This feel like a lot of work. I'm going to tell you why. Because not forgiving is worse. I'm not going to tell you that forgiveness is not hard. It is. It's hard. But so is not forgiving. Because not forgiving results in bitterness. It results in resentment. It results in isolation. It results in anger and just this erosion of your joy and your peace. It twists you into knots. Bitterness and resentment it twists all of your insides, which then creates very real physical implications: high blood pressure, strokes, autoimmune diseases. All of those things come from when your body is under this just continuous chronic stress and just anxiety and like angst and tension because of all of this unforgiveness, all of this anger and hurt and bitterness that you are carrying will have very real implications on your physical health. And that's hard. So now let's look at it this way. So now not only am I walking around here with my face all twisted up and my stomach in knots and me angry and bitter and not able to get into healthy, loving, kind relationships with other people because I'm cynical and looking at people sideways. So now nobody wants to be around me. But now I got medical problems that I constantly have to be on medication for, in the hospital. I am not living a quality of life that I want to because I'm sick. I don't feel good. I always have headaches. That's hard too. Which is worse, though? Which is worse? It's hard to forgive somebody, but man, when I have forgiven, I have joy. I have peace. My skin is glowing. I'm healthy. I'm laughing. I have the ability to welcome new people into my life that are safe and loving and kind and that help me with my healing journey. I'm able to see the best in other people. I'm able to receive the blessings that God has for me because I haven't closed and walled myself off, becoming like, I'm just going to protect myself. Nobody getting in. Ain't nobody ever going to hurt me again. I can be open to receive what God has for me. So yeah, the process of forgiveness, super hard. But the process of unforgiveness, worse. You put yourself in a cage that's not worth it. When I was young, my dad told me something. He used to tell me, and I didn't really understand it when I was young, but I do now. He's like, Autumn, pay now or pay later, but you will pay. And if you pay later, you'll pay with interest. And what he was saying to me is that it's going to cost you. If you do it now, it costs you. And if you don't do it now, it's going to cost you. But either way, you're going to pay. So figure out the price that you're willing to pay at, because later down the road, it costs more. All that time you put it off, you wasn't escaping it. You was just kicking the can down the road. Now what was a pea size is now the size of a mountain that you got to deal with because you thought you was avoiding something, because you didn't want to be uncomfortable, because you didn't want to do the hard work. Well, now you just made the work harder for yourself. Now you got to undo way more than you would have had to undo months, years ago. And it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Forgiveness is for you. It is not for that other person. Forgiveness is so that you can be free, so that you can let go and release it, so you're not carrying that in your body, in your mind, in your heart, and in your spirit, so that you can be the very best version of yourself. The enemy wants us to stay in unforgiveness. He wants us to stay in bitterness and resentment, because when we are focused on that, that becomes our lens. That becomes what we see everything and everybody through. So even when God is sending people into our life, purpose partners, people to help us, to love us, to walk with us, to open doors for us, to speak on our behalf, like all of these different things, we can't even see or receive it because we so busy looking through this fractured lens of unforgiveness. So now, instead of them looking like a beautiful piece of art, a beautiful painting, they look like this distorted, torn up, crazy, weird, like, right? Because we're looking through these cracks, and that's where the enemy wants us to stay. He's like, good, if I can keep them from seeing this thing accurately, then they will treat it inaccurately. They won't give it the due, the respect, the place, the reverence, the consideration, the alignment that God intended. They'll be distorted because that's what they see, is a distorted version. We're not leaving no blessings on the table. Not in 2025. We're not doing that. We're not letting the enemy cause us to leave blessings on the table. God is trying to fix it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get in line with partnering with God to do the things that God wants to do in our lives so that we can thrive and that we can be better. And this is one place that the enemy has us in a choke hold, this unforgiveness. And here's the thing, again, forgiveness and reconciliation, two very different things. It's very possible for you to say, I forgive this person, but they're not safe for me to be around. And that's cool. That's cool. Forgiveness does not automatically mean that that person gets to stay in your life. That does not mean that. Sometimes it means, I love you from across the street. I wish you the very best. Sometimes it means that, but it doesn't mean that we kicking everybody out, because some people, God is calling us to still stay in relationship with even after they have hurt us. Because there's some people that God is calling them to stay in relationship with us even after we've hurt them. God like, that's not done yet. You don't get to just chop them at the knees and be like, bye, I'm not talking to you no more ever again. You're dead to me. God's like, no, actually, I want to do something with that. So y'all gonna fix this. Y'all gonna be committed to fixing this. And that's okay. Right. And we have to be open to what God wants to do, because ultimately God's way is best, regardless of how we feel or what we think. God's way is always best. So if the two contradict, if God says A and we saying B, our feelings saying B, our thoughts are saying B, then B is wrong. B is wrong. A is always going to be right. Whatever God said is always going to be right. And so we got to figure out how to bring ourselves into alignment with his word and his will and his perspective, because he knows what is best for us. And like I said, forgiveness does not mean that you are saying that what that person did is okay. It doesn't mean that you are a doormat. It doesn't mean that you have to accept behavior that is hurting you, that is breaking your heart, that is harming your peace. You know what I mean? Any of these things, that doesn't mean that you have to accept that kind of behavior. Absolutely not. Boundaries are an actual thing, right? God had boundaries. God has boundaries. He separated the earth from the water. That's a boundary. Okay. This is where you end and where I begin. So we 1000% should be having boundaries. And we recognize that a boundary may mean that this person can come back into our circle when they respect the boundary, or it may mean that this person cannot come back in because they don't know how to respect the boundary. Either way, forgiveness is always a part of the equation. It has to be. It has to be. So I want to end this with the story, because this is not just my opinion, right? I'm telling you this, but this is not my just what I cooked up. This is biblical. And we also, in all things, need to be looking at everything that we face and that we go through. We need to be looking at it, not, yes, through our lens as a human, right? For human to human. But we also need to be looking at it from how God sees this. How is God looking at this? Because that gives us a very different perspective on what is happening. And so there's a story in the Bible where a man owes a king, a creditor. He owes a creditor. Let's do that. Like $20,000. Okay. And he goes to the creditor and he like, yo, listen, I ain't got it. I mean, I could put 5 on it, but for real, I ain't got it. And quite honestly, I ain't gonna have it for a minute. It's gonna take me the rest of my life to pay off this $20,000. Can you cut a brother a break? Right? And so the creditor is like, listen, don't even worry about it. And the guy's like, don't worry about this payment, like this month, and the creditor's like, nah, don't even worry about it. I'm erasing the $20,000 debt, period. Just your balance is 0. And the dude like, yeah, say that, say less, right? Okay, he go tearing out. This is the best day of his life. I mean, he is kicking up his heels, running down the street, singing zippity doo dah, zippity day. This dude has got a new lease on life. I mean, debt is clean. He out here. Okay. So as he's walking down the street, bebopping along, enjoying the beautiful weather, he sees at the corner somebody who owe him some money. Okay. He see homie from around the way owe him $20. Okay. So he like, wait a minute. Ain't that? Don't he owe me? And he runs across the street. Now, he done forgot everything that just happened. He runs right across the street and grabs this dude up by the collar. Got him yoked up, all up against the wall. Where my $20? I mean, he Deboing him at this point, right? Got his elbow in his, just right in his throat. Okay. Over $20. So while all this is happening, the creditor who just gave grace and erased the debt is walking down the street, and he looks over and he sees this whole interaction, and he is like, You have got to be kidding me. The audacity of it all, the mitigated gall of this dude. Like, what? Are you serious? Sir, 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 are you serious? You just owe me 20 grand. Now you done got this dude yoked up on the wall over $20. Are you serious? You're wicked. You are wicked. And he calls him wicked because how could you possibly receive this level of grace, this level of forgiveness, this level of mercy for yourself? How could you see that you just received something that you didn't deserve? You had this overwhelming debt that you could not pay, that you could not get from under. You realized that all the stuff that you were feeling, the anxiety, the guilt, the shame, the stress, all the stuff, somebody just did something for you that you didn't deserve. They removed all of that from you. You didn't earn it. And yet you can't do the same thing for someone else who has done less. You've done more and got forgiven. They've done less and you can't forgive them. You are wild. And that's how God wants us to look at this and say, you don't have a right not to forgive somebody else. You don't have a right. If you were to stand in front of God tomorrow and he did, that's the scroll. That's him. That's him undoing the scroll. And he was to undo the scroll of your life and he was to read off every single offense that you have ever made against him, that every single offense that you have committed against him, every single time that you lied, every time you cheated, every time you stole, every time you was mean, ugly, you gossiped, you were jealous and envious, every time you were idolizing something else other than God, every time you were lazy, every time, like all of the things, every time since you was born, Lord Jesus, you would not even be able to stand. The weight of it all would crush you. Crush you. And he said, gone. Forgiven it all. Debt paid. You don't owe a dime. All of it gone. Erased. Thrown into the sea of forgetfulness. You are free. Go thrive. Life in abundance belongs to you. No condemnation. And then he watch you go down the street and somebody do one little offense to you and you treating them like they done, just destroyed your whole entire existence. They owe you $20. And he's like, are you for real? Are you for real? So we got to start putting things into perspective. We make our perspective the biggest perspective in the room, and it's not. It's not. But when we look at things from God's perspective, we start to get a very different, angle on things. We like, oh, well, okay, never mind. All them things that I would say, I take it back, Lord. Disregard. Never mind. Yeah, never mind. So when we get to a place where we feel so self-righteous to where we're like, I don't have to forgive you. The pain that you have inflicted on me says, I don't have to. We need to stop for a second and we need to think about the pain that we have inflicted on God, the pain that we have inflicted on the kingdom of heaven, the pain that we have inflicted on other children of God, people that God entrusted us with, people that God put us in their life to bless them, and we did the exact opposite. You don't think that God is hurt by that? You don't think that God feels betrayed by that? But he forgave and he continues to forgive. He wiped it all clean. And the things that we are doing have far-reaching consequences. And we can't forgive somebody because they fill in the blank. Please don't hear me saying that your pain is not real. It 100% is. I'm not taking that from anybody. I'm not like devaluing anyone's experiences. Trust me, I have had plenty of my own. Plenty of my own. I got stories to tell. But when I think about all the ways that I have disappointed God, all the ways that I have not been the best version of myself, all the thoughts that I have thought, all the words that I've said, the stuff that when I think about that, I'm like, bro, I don't even, you know what? Quite honestly, I don't even have time to think about your offenses against me. When I get to like, oh my God, and I did this, and then I did that, and oh my God, thank you, Lord. I can't even, when I start to get thankful, when I start to remember back and then to get thankful about all the ways that God has forgiven me and shown me mercy and grace, I don't even have time to think about what you have done. I'm like, forget that. We moving on. You know what? We both free. High fives. We're moving on. So I hope that this was helpful to you. I know that this is something that you're going to have to maybe sit with and just ponder on. Please pray on it and see where you find that you land in your spirit on this. Everybody's way of forgiveness may be different, right? How they get to it. I just shared with you mine, and maybe it'll be helpful in your journey. So I wish you the very best. Please have a very blessed weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.